Good morning everyone. This is the second video on animal tissues. We have already discussed with the epithelial one and today we will start with the connective tissue. It is a fundamental animal tissue having scattered living cells embedded in an abundant matrix that helps in connecting, binding, packing and supporting different structures of the animal body. This enables the body to function as an integrated whole. It is therefore the most abundant tissue of the animal body. The matrix is generally scattered by the living cells of the connective tissue. It can be jelly-like, fluid or solid. So on the basis of the nature of matrix, connective tissue is of three types. Number 1, connective tissue proper. That means matrix is jelly-like or dense. Number 2, skeletal tissue, which means matrix is solid. And vascular tissue, which means matrix is fluid. Different types of connective tissues have different types of living cells, and as a whole they helps in packing, transporting, supporting, helps in storage, defense and helps in repair. So now what are the different types of connective tissue? Number 1, connective tissue proper includes areolar tissue, adipose tissue, tendon and ligament. Number 2, skeletal tissue includes cartilage and bone. And number 3, vascular connective tissue includes blood and the lymph. So let's have the details on each and every type. Areolar tissue is simple and typical connective tissue having semi-fluid jelly-like matrix, white collagen, yellow elastin fiber and reticular fibers, fibroblast, mast cell, plasma cells, macrophages and immunocytes. These all are the different types of cells of your immune system in your body. So what are the location? Areolar tissue occurs inside the organs, around blood vessels, muscles and nerves, below the skin and joining various structures like muscles with the skin. And what are the functions? Packing. Areolar tissue provides packing material in various organs. Binding. It binds various structures with one another. Covering. It provides covering over nerves, muscles and blood vessels. Repair. The tissue provides materials for repair of injury. The second type is adipose tissue. It is a connective tissue which is specialized to store fat. Fat is stored inside cells called adipocytes. They are large cells with one or more globules of fat and a peripheral cytoplasm with nucleus at one end. Adipose tissue is otherwise similar to areolar tissue in having soft jelly-like matrix. Living cells like fibroblasts, macrophages, plasma cell, mast cell, etc. and fibers are also present. Adipose tissue may show partitions to form lobules. What are the location? They are located in subcutaneous region, cushion around eyes, heart, kidneys, blood vessels and inside yellow bone marrow. Functions: storage. Adipose tissue is a storage tissue for fat. Shock absorption. It forms shock absorbing cushions. Adipose tissue forms an insulating layer below the skin, so helps in insulation. And body shape. It rounds off body contours and provides shape to various body parts. Next type is tendon. It is a small cord-like dense white fibrous connective tissue of great strength but limited flexibility. Tendon contains parallel bundles of white collagen fibers. Quantity of matrix is comparatively small. A layer of areolar tissue occurs on the outer side. Tendon joins a skeletal muscle to a bone. That means bone to muscle attachment. It helps in moving the bone on contraction and relaxation of the muscles. Now, what is the ligament? Ligament is a cord-like dense yellow fibrous connective tissue of considerable strength and high elasticity. A ligament is made up of a number of yellow elastin fibers, bundles of white collagen fibers arranged variously and fibroblasts scattered in between the fibers. Quantity of matrix is comparatively small. Ligament binds a bone with another bone. That means bone to bone attachment. Because of its elasticity, a ligament allows bending and rotation movements over a joint. Sometimes a ligament gets overstretched. It produces sprain. So what is the difference between tendon and ligament then? Tendon connects a muscle to a bone and ligament joins a bone with another bone. So that's all about the dense connective tissue. Now we will start with the next type. Now our next topic is cartilage. It is a firm but flexible supportive connective tissue in which the solid matrix has well spread fluid filled lacunae having 1 to 4 living cells called chondrocytes. Cartilage forms the soft endoskeleton of the body. Matrix is made up of protein sugar complex chondrin, which is secreted by chondrocyte. Blood supply is restricted to outer covering of cartilage called perichondrium. A layer of cartilage forming cells called chondroblasts occur below the perichondrium. So what is the location? Cartilage occurs in nasal septum, pinna, epiglottis, larynx, rings of trachea and bronchi, sternal ends of ribs, intervertebral discs and tips of several bones. In some fishes, for example shark, the whole skeleton is made up of cartilages. So what is the function? Support. Cartilage provides support and flexibility to various body parts. Friction. It prevents frictional wear and tear of bone tips by forming their articular surfaces. Cushions. Intervertebral discs of cartilage functions as cushion against stresses. Now this is the most important, I hope one of the most important structure of our body, that is bone. Bone is solid, rigid, very strong and non-flexible skeletal tissue which consists of a solid matrix which fluid-filled lacuna having osteocytes or bone cells. Bone is the hardest tissue of the body. Unlike cartilage, blood vessels and nerves pass into the interior of the bone. Hardness is due to deposition of mineral matter like calcium, magnesium, carbonate, phosphate, etc. Matrix as well as osteocytes or bone cells occur in concentric rings or lamella around the nutrient-filled Haversian canals. Osteocytes occur singly in fluid-filled spaces called lacunae. And many bones contain cavities having an internal soft special connective tissue called red bone marrow. It produces blood cells. Now what is the location? Of course we all know that a large number of bones occur in the body. They are joined together to form the endoskeleton of the animal body. Now, what are the function? Framework. The bony endoskeleton forms the supportive framework of the body. Protection. It gives protection to vital organs like brain, heart, lungs, etc. Muscles. Bones provide surface for attachment to many muscles. Movements. Bones form various types of joints for movements. Now start with the vascular connective tissue. Blood. Blood is reddish colored viscous sticky fluid that flows inside the blood vessels by means of pumping activity of heart. pH is 7.4. Blood has two parts, fluid plasma and blood cells. The plasma is a liquid matrix of blood which has pale yellow color. 90 to 92% water, 8 to 10% different organic and inorganic substances. Several proteins like albumin, globulin, fibrinogen present. Serum. It is watery fluid which separates from blood when the latter coagulates. Now, what about the blood cells or corpuscles? Blood corpuscles are of three types: red blood corpuscles or RBC, white blood corpuscles or WBC, and the platelets. RBC or erythrocytes, they contain hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is the respiratory pigment, so that they transport oxygen and carbon dioxide. So they are biconcave disc shaped structure and red colored. White blood corpuscles or leukocytes. They are colorless nucleated cells which can change their shape like amoeba. Granulocytes have irregular polymorphic nuclei and a number of large granules with specific staining properties like neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils, and our granulocytes do not have granules. Example or types: lymphocytes and monocytes. And the last one is blood platelet. They are non-nucleated, small, oval or rounded, colorless cells. On exposure to air, the blood platelets burst and release the chemicals for coagulation of the blood at the place of injury. So what is the function as a whole? Number one is transport. So what are the functions of blood? As we know, transport of dissolved substances, regulation of pH and ions for homeostasis or the maintenance of the body, restriction of fluid losses at injury sites, defense against toxins and pathogens in case of immunological defense, and stabilization of the temperature. The last one of the connective tissue is lymph. It is colorless or light yellow fluid connective tissue which is formed from tissue fluid and filtered our blood. Lymph is devoid of red blood corpuscles and blood platelets. Proteins are fewer. So are white blood corpuscles. However, lymphocytes are most abundant. Lymph flows through lymph capillaries. And what about the lymph nodes? Lymph nodes are collections of lymphoid tissue at strategic points. Small and medium-sized lymph vessels open into lymph nodes. The lymph runs through 8 to 10 nodes before reaching the bloodstream. And what is the structure? Capsule, fibrous tissue, and forming trabeculae, which are the partitions present inside the lymph node. So what are the function? Filtering and phagocytosis. Phagocytosis means ingestion of something from outside. Proliferation of lymphocytes, that is the formation of lymphocytes. Activated T and B lymphocytes, which are responsible for immune system or defense system in our body. antibodies produced by sensitized B cells, which are also immune cells of the body. For example, when we are taking medicines to treat influenza or several types of viruses, our body secretes antibodies. So those all are secreted from lymph nodes and lymphocytes. So students, we have learnt about the entire connective tissue with the all detailing, and in the next class we will start with muscular tissues or muscle tissues. Thank you, students.